Welcome everyone to this second webinar of this year Naturethon initiative. My name is Davide Michelin. I'm a Science Outreach Manager at the CMCC, the Mediterranean Center on Climate Change. I'll be moderating today's events together with my colleagues Soraya Melinato and Andrea Staccione. This webinar is jointly organized by the Naturans and the Arcadia projects as part of the Naturethon program. Later on, Soraya will explain the program more in detail. For now, I'll just tell you that Naturethon is a citizen engagement initiative designed to tap into the collective understanding of the deployment of a network-based solution, and also to stimulate a discussion around their financial mechanisms and instruments. Now, a few technical notes before the start of the webinar and some information on how the webinar will proceed. First of all, the webinar is being recorded. So please turn off your camera if you don't want to be recorded or seen. Then you are more than welcome to leave your question in the Q&A box that is placed in the bar at the bottom of the screen. As the previous events, this webinar is divided in two parts. The first one includes two presentations, while the second one is the interactive session, where participants can actively try to design or improve a network-based solution. Among the speakers today, we have Marcelo Gerlach from ICLEI Europe that will present the Youth Inclusion Toolkit for local authorities. And following Marcelo, Ludwig Wahlund Sonesson and Nicolas Keller that will illustrate how the City of Malmö in Sweden, one of the Arcadia's project's co-innovation labs, organized a network of local initiatives to engage diverse citizen groups in the development of urban NBS. Now it's really time to get started, and the best way to kick off is to hand over to the host and say a few words about the Naturans project. Naturans is a Horizon Coordination Support Action project that looks at the feasibility and performance of solutions based on disaster risk financing and network-based solution investment. At the heart of the project are the innovation labs that are spaces for experimentation, innovation, deep learning, that aims to bring together experts from different fields to create new products or services. But one of the Naturans' goals is also to raise awareness among citizens, and that's exactly what we do, or at least try to do, with the Naturethon initiative, with a special focus on young people. Now, let's take a look at the other projects involved in this webinar. NBS EduWorld is another Horizon Europe project that has just concluded, aimed to connecting NBS and education. It brought together expert and community members to create engaging materials, highlighting the benefits of network-based solutions. The project gave educators tools to inspire future decision makers and NBS professionals, helping build a society ready for sustainable solutions. On the other end, we have Arcadia, that is an Horizon Europe project, boosting climate adaptation through network-based solutions across Europe. Arcadia brings together model and fellow regions to speed up network-based solution adaptation and share the latest tools and knowledge. The innovation labs of Arcadia, such as Malmö, that we have two representatives today here, are collaborative spaces where different actors work together to create new solutions. Now, we'll take a closer look at how local authorities can get involved, starting with today's first speaker, that is Marcelo Gerlach from ICLEI Europe. Marcelo holds a master's degree in sustainable international agriculture and has gained extensive experience in social ecological issues. Welcome, Marcelo.
Thank you, Davide, for this great introduction. I'm gonna jump to share the screen with you. Is it working? Are you sharing the screen? Yeah, I will try to be brief, but give you a short insight on the methodology behind creating this toolkit and the process, I better say, of the toolkit, and maybe jump into 2-3 examples of tools we maybe co-develop with different partners. I think it all started with the question, like, what if, right? I don't know if you know Rob Hopkins, but he's a person working with community and asking this question, what if, for example, cities became experts at including youth to lead social ecological solutions? So I think behind this toolkit, this is one of the key questions driving our work. And out of these questions, we created this Youth Inclusion Toolkit, which is for local authorities. And the question is, what if you lead the way, right? Asking the cities, what if you lead the way? The purpose is very clear, is to provide tools and resources for include youth in NBS education, and to talk about barriers and how to overcome barriers for youth to be part of NBS education. And through this, also encourage youth to be part of decision making. And in the front of it is to support the municipalities to actually do these different steps. So maybe to have a little bit look at the process on how we approach this question, right? What if youth was at the forefront of NBS education? What if cities engage with youth? We had a very diverse way of engagement. We started with 6 local governments. We were engaged in the project, and we had an online workshop with them asking what are their challenges from the perspective of a city on how to include youth in the work they do. And they were all working on NBS education, so the focus was already there. We also had a NBS Edu Community workshop where we brought a different, this was online, a lot of different people from educators, NBS experts, local authorities, and a lot of young people. And we were playing around with the different tools we were developing and exploring, okay, what works in this tool, what doesn't work. To make it quicker, we also had an in-person workshop with students. We had an online survey. We had some interviews with youth organizations. We had a workshop with the Embracer project also showcasing, and we went also through the advisory board. Just to give you an image, it was a long process, talking to different people, getting feedback, discussing tools, etc. And within that, youth organizations, they said that youth demand a voice in decision making, that authentic inclusion fosters empowerment and systemic improvement, and challenges include systemic exclusion and lack of representation, kind of the barriers, right? Like, why is youth not always included? And from the perspective of the cities, when we asked, they, on the other side, they said from their perspective that they need youth to imagine alternative possible pathways. They would like youth to reconnect with different generations. They could have from youth fresh insights. So this was the potential for cities from youth. And this is from the perspective of local governments. And at the same time, they were talking of the lack of power of youth, maybe in terms of time and resources to be involved in these different processes. And when we asked youth directly, what would happen, right? What would happen if youth was involved in NBS education? There was one participant in an envisioning exercise, and they were saying nature would become at the forefront of social concerns, and biodiversity conservation would be fully supported by the population at large and not a marginal issue. The present is better than the past. This was looking from the future. So we asked this question, how would it be in 2050? And they were said, the present is better than the past. There is more hope. Youth are recognized as change makers and have the full empowerment to do so. So this is a little bit the background. You see, we were playing with the different perspectives. And out of this, in the toolkit, you can have a look. So the process was usually these webinars, we were already testing some of them. And like this one, here's a list. All the details are in the Youth Inclusion Toolkit. Maybe my favorite ones, or like the ones we will present, the hackathons. I will also present very shortly the visioning exercise and the bioblitzes. I'm not too aware of time, so you can tell me, Davide, when I'm already at 10 minutes. Okay, sorry, I didn't put the clock. So for the hackathons, the question we asked was, what if digital tools such as hackathons are widely used to simulate real-world issues and get youth to get to solve the problem? And what we did is actually organize an online event with youth, with a lot of students, but we also brought in the cities. So here you can see some of our colleagues, our partners, and a lot of different students that were involved in social ecological issues. And we gathered them on this imaginary world, and we had, so people could move around, and then they would walk, they would have different tasks to do, and they would walk to different houses and to different ecosystems, and they would actually have to talk to the cities. For example, we had people from Moldova as a region, or Belgrade as a region, or Genova from the actual cities, or Paris, and they would go and talk about the case study of what's happening, and youth from their perspective would actually contribute to the solution thinking of the cities. I could go much more into detail, but I'm gonna keep it short. You can see that with different imaginaries, there were teams, so people were discussing a lot, running around, and maybe, yeah, one of the key takeaways is the importance to have relevant case studies. So actually, if you want to engage with youth online, like actually bring real case scenarios, like that makes the experience much more stronger. So working actually with cities like Belgrade, bringing real issues they are experiencing, like climate risks, and discussing with them directly, okay, what can we do? This is a way forward to engage with youth for sure. And yeah, some testimonials from them. Then we have the question, what if collaborative events are facilitated for youth to support scientists and expertise in place-based biodiversity monitoring? This is looking more at BioBlitz. I have these images from our partners in Paris. And as you can see, BioBlitz is, in this case, is bringing people in one place at for a closed period of time together. And then you select one topic and you go and start counting it, right? So this can be different types of plants within the city, but also insects. And you have different tools that can be very engaging from the cell phone, from the app, to recognize plants, but also to count how many insects you have within one given space. And this can be very powerful to go through one specific part of the city. Yeah, you have tools for identification, also for the identification, and also with comments. iNaturalist is one of them, for example. And yeah, this event showed how we can all contribute, even if we are not scientists. It's about learning together and caring for our home. This was one of the people there. And finally, maybe one of my favorites, what if we allowed young people to dream up real utopias. And for that, we use the envisioning journey, which is activating the utopian mindset and with a playful way, then actually going to design these utopias and making finally this utopian real, right? And this is an example from another organization, Inspire the Future, but how people can co-create a space, right? This is just an outside example, but I wanted to show you something that you can see how this imagining together could work, like these visioning exercises could work. Like, yeah, that's the link for the Youth Inclusion Toolkit, and that's from my side so far.
Thank you, Marcelo. I already would have several curiosity and question, including both the age, because of course when we try to engage students from the high school is very different that including other target ages maybe, but I don't know if we want to go ahead with the next presentation, then come back with a more comprehensive discussion, because you of course you introduced the point of view of people that want to engage, that how local authority can engage, which tool can use to engage young people. But today here we have also the other point of view, because the other speakers come from a story, an experience in the Malmö city in Sweden. That is, I think, very interesting. That because this experience was guided by the municipality. So we'll be back at the end of their presentation for the question and discussion. But now I want to introduce our next speakers, that are Ludwig Wahlund Sonesson, that is a climate adaptation strategist of the city of Malmö, and Nicolas Keller, that is an environmental and sustainability educators from Växtverket. I hope to misspelled enough for your taste. So Ludwig and Nicolas, thank you for being here. And yeah, let's tell to us your experience.
Thank you, David. I'm sorry for giving you such difficult names to pronounce, but you did well, I think.
My bad.
I'm Ludwig. I work for the City of Malmö, so for the municipality, and Nicolas.
Hey.
So Nicolas works for the organization Växtverket. So we are both from the physical location of Malmö, but from different organizations. And just to start to give you a bit of the context where we're at, in the Arcadia project, we focused on a specific part of Malmö, which is the old harbor, which is being redeveloped into mixed use. So from an industrial use to a mixed use. And specifically, we have this ferry terminal site that you see here on the image. It's the white building with a lot of arms. So the city is keen to reuse and rebuild existing infrastructure rather than just raising it and building something new. And in the plans for this district, this area is supposed to be a public site, a park, a gathering place for the district. And we started with this type of site. It was fenced. It was being used to store a bridge when I took this picture, and it was very much a closed space. So no one was using it or even thinking of using it as a public site. And over these past years, we've done a few things to kind of make it a site. We removed the fences, we introduced benches and social infrastructure. And as part of the Arcadia project, we designed and built this urban forest planting that we inaugurated in September. So there are a lot of things that happened to the site, but it's still in a district that no one really yet lives in. But there will be a lot of people living there. So it was key for us to understand how the space could be used and by whom, and to get those ideas early on in the design process of this site. And so that's why in the context of the Arcadia project, we wanted to include organizations that are good at working with this type of community participation events and work with pedagogical approaches to highlight nature's role in the city and to help us understand kind of what the site would need to function as a space for this type of events, and also to kind of highlight the site and add layers to the site together with people from Malmö. So we put out an open call for these types of activities to co-create a program over the summer together with the city. We had 13 organizations that applied who fit the criteria. And from those, we selected 3 that we then gave the task to create a common program of activities, largely based in the garage that we have on the site. And so that was Växtverket, who Nicolas represents, but also an organization called Feral, who work a lot with multi-species perspectives on urban planning, and also Construct Lab, who works a lot with participating building of different types of infrastructures. And so rather than me as a city employee talking about what we do, I thought it would be much better to just give the floor to Växtverket, because that's how we want to approach this type of events and these type of processes, rather than us inviting and having a meeting. We think it's a lot better to kind of recruit and also then pay organizations who are great at organizing this type of things and can do it much better than the city can do on its own. So I give the word to Nicolas to talk a bit about how they work from these examples.
Yes. Hey. Okay. So Ludwig has the slide, so he will have to help me with the go through. But as I said, my name is Nicolas. I'm also based in Malmö, and I am a part of an organization that is called Växtverket, which in English roughly translate into growing pains, like the kind of pains children have when they become teenagers in their joints, for example. And we are basically a non-profit, but we are also a group of landscape architects, designers, engineers, educators. And we have existed as this entity for the last 10 years and have been active in Malmö. And we have we do quite a lot of different things, but all our projects in common have that we work with co-creation and participatory design, especially with a hands-on approach. So what you see on the picture is my team or our team, and one of the sites that we've been working with in the last 10 years, which is what you would call a construction playground. And so this is a bit the approach we bring into all our projects. And so together with children and young people, mainly preschool and primary school kids, we create new places, new learning meeting places, or third spaces, as Marcelo was also mentioning it. So we were one of the groups that responded to Ludwig's call, and with our concept that we called the nomadic outdoor classroom. Because the last couple of years we have worked with generating spaces that host the plurality of functions, so that work in one hand as a meeting space for the community, but that also can maybe host a school class for outdoor learning, which often includes in some of the spaces also NBS. So if Ludwig goes to the next slide, I have a couple of slides from the site, but you will not see any children because we take the GDPR very seriously, and so we normally abstain from taking pictures of the kids. So it's mostly like hands and feet that you will see. But the challenge with the ferry terminal is mainly that it's like it's a harsh urban environment that nobody basically wanted to go to, and so we had to find solutions how to bring the kids there or the schools there. And so we invited 10 school classes to join us and explore the site, but also to co-create some small-scale infrastructure that would become the outdoor classroom. And here you can see we did for every class, we had like 2 parts of the workshop. And one is the first part was basically an analysis or a mapping part or an explorative part where we would take tours and have a guided tours together with the kids. And here, for example, you could see that this site has not been, the ferry terminal has not been used in the last 15 years. And so everywhere you could see these patches of feral landscape evolving, which was very interesting to the kids and which we would take up and discuss with them and what would happen if, well, if we leave a space as it is and just keep it clean of trash. And so we would work really with the local fauna, flora, like these urban ruderal plants that were there. And then if we continue to the next slide, yeah, we would also work with like artistic methods. For example, the kids, and together with us, we would analyze the different surfaces of the ferry terminal through like coal paintings. Like the kids would go around and look at the different surfaces of the cement or of the soil and work with that, which was also to explain to them and showcase like the different capabilities of soil to absorb water, or of cement that is not cannot absorb water. And so we basically worked a little bit of the topics of the NBS into the pedagogy, but it was by no means the main topic. But here is one approach that we used to work with it before we got into the more creative part. Yes, you can go on. The other part of the project was to work with the forest that Ludwig just mentioned. The forest was planted while we were on site with the kids, which was really spectacular to follow, but it was also interesting to use it as a pedagogical tool. The forest in itself is already built with a lot of features for different soil types that the city is testing, which everything can be explained and showcased with and explored together with the kids. Here, for example, we would look at the materials that the city used to create these big garden beds through like a painting exercise, which the kids then would use to basically co-create stamps to decorate the infrastructure that we would build. So they took the patterns from the natural and the urban environment and applied it to their new infrastructure that we built together. Yes. Next. And another part is also that this environment is not really meant to be changed. Like a ferry terminal is infrastructure that should be maintenance free and just be usable for the duration of its life. So it was a challenge and somewhat also interesting to see how we can, together with the kids, adapt and adopt the space, and also like work with its features. Here, for example, we worked with regenerative materials. This is clay and seagrass that we collected around the area, where the kids could basically put their own fingerprint onto this very large-scale construction site, building, or the building. And so you see, like, so the NBS were maybe not beginning, but in hindsight, of course, we can always argue for that it can be with this type of activities and this co-creative things, we can always work with the topic as well. I think there's 1 or 2 more slides, Ludwig. We can. Yeah.
Do you want me to change one more?
Oh, no, so this one. Yeah, so here we can actually see one of the more creative workshops we did, like so some of the patterns that the students collected together with their teachers, we would then, like, in a teamwork effort, like, try to paint them onto the materials that we would use for the infrastructure. The workshops were very short, like the students were only there for 3 hours each. So you can imagine that we were not able to build all the things completely from scratch together, but we always find ways to include the students into the co-creation at a certain point. And also in a way that it still aesthetically has a coherence that we want to achieve as designers and architects. Yeah. And yes, and then with the kids, one big part which all our projects connect is that we do a lot of gardening activities. In this case, we co-created two gardening beds. The one was for materials that would be used in craft teachings in school, like willow and coloring plants, but which also can definitely be used to, for example, phytoremediation, on which we also talked with the kids about. And the other was more like a food forest type gardening bed, and where the kids in every step would be involved also, like in the construction, in the planting, in the maintenance. And then I think there's maybe the last one, or no, that was it actually. So yeah, so unfortunately I don't have like the best pictures. We are really bad with generally taking pictures during our workshops, and it's also always difficult to not catch a face. So, but you're more than welcome to look on our social media or on our webpage, and where you see more of our work. And thank you so much for the invitation to showcase this project.
Thank you. Thank you both. Personally, I would have continued to listen and to watch your case study, because are very incredible. The laboratories you organized, very, very creative, and I think engaging for the youngest. So I think that with this presentation will already touched the point of the age, and how that there isn't a tool that works for everyone, everywhere, every target. So I don't know if both the three speakers, if you have a suggestion, not maybe on a specific tool to reach, for example, different target age, but I don't know which elements, which on what you touch the audience to reach them. For example, creativity. I don't know for different ages. I don't know if my question is clear, but for example, if I want to reach high school students, what is the best way to reach them, in your opinion? There is a strategy. There is.
I can start and then I give the floor. I think you have more experience with schools over there, but I always think you have to pick up the youth where they are and try to go to them. There are different kinds of youth. For the Youth Inclusion Toolkit, we set from 16 to 30, which is almost youth. You can debate. Sometimes there are different definitions, right? There is youth that wants to be engaged. There is youth that is not that engaged, and so it's always the question of the local circumstances. And I would always start to say, create spaces, right? I love the concept of third spaces, which I didn't present, but it's kind of, we touched it within the tools. It's like creating actually spaces where youth can meet without feeling insecure, having access to different facilities, but also to be able to be there without consuming. So many times we see a lot of youth in McDonald's, for example, high school teenagers go, because for them McDonald's become this kind of third spaces. They have to consume, yes, and it's, I don't want to, it's not propaganda, it's just to say, like, to showcase. But so if as a school you can create these spaces and then meet them there, that is for me very interesting. It's not there is not one answer. This is just an opinion from one perspective. But I pass it to you, Ludwig and Nicolas.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would say it's one, of course, like everybody who works with kids knows that it's one of the hardest groups to reach out to. We feel that the projects we have done with this age group, it's often about, well, it's about power relations, like how much power can you actually give them and how authentic is that? How much can they decide over what they want to do? We built, for example, together with after school center, we have built like outdoor spaces, and there it was very clearly that we let them as much decide as possible, except for the restraint of budget, for example, which just exists, right? And they have to relate to. But we see also that it's a question of the teenagers also, in the sense of we had to realize that it's somehow needs to be somehow an ethical exchange. Like if we expect young adults and teenagers to participate in our projects in their free time, for example, then it becomes a question of how can we somehow compensate them ethically, like in a sense, because they are giving us their time and their creativity. And especially with the kids we have worked here in Malmö that sometimes come from very vulnerable communities, it's a matter of like, well, I can either join your activity or I maybe have to take care of my small siblings, or I have to help my parents cook. So it's like, how can we compensate this time? And normally you don't have the budget for this in the projects, right? But we realized that food and cultural experiences, for example, music or concerts, is something to compensate the teenagers we work with, which we normally can succeed, or we have had some success. Like, so instead of just expecting them to show up and thinking it's cool to join a project, you can compensate them through an exchange, which is non-monetary, but it's still like it gives them a real value, like food, for example. So that's, for example, one way we have succeeded. Sorry, that was very long.
Okay. I remember to the audience that if anyone has questions, please leave them in the Q&A box or write in the chat. I would stay for a while here because I think it's very interesting approach. But yeah, we work a lot, no? And we go to present the successful stories, and also this webinar is titled "The Successful Stories." But also sometimes things don't go in the right way. So we will title lesson learned, no? To say that okay, it didn't work. So in your opinion, what not to do when to involve young people? I don't know if Ludwig want to start from his experience.
Yeah, I mean, Nicolas is the expert here, but I think touching on what he kind of started to talk about, I think if you make promises that you then don't keep, like, I mean, for me, that's the biggest no. And we've done that a lot as a city before. Like, we have these processes of involvement, and we say, yeah, we really want your ideas and your opinions, and we will take them into account when we're doing the planning, and then we completely forget about them. And I think it's then better to be honest and say that this is kind of like this is the frame that we can use your input in. These things have already been decided; they're too far gone. But in this frame, we can actually take into account, and then also, if there is something that we then actually use, make sure to reconnect that back to the groups we have involved. We often forget that kind of evaluation and the feedback and the coming back, and it's easy then to burn the connections you have with these groups, and you can never have a good dialogue with them again if they feel like they have been used. So what Nicolas mentioned about giving them something immediately when they're there, but also acknowledging that they contributed to something. And just in the context of Sweden, I mean, sometimes it's difficult here to get just people to show up. But we have a long history of organizations that organize citizens. So I think in our context, we work a lot with organizations who then organize people. And I think that's a better way of doing it, because then they know and can have that dialogue more continually with their target group.
And Marcelo, in building this toolkit, do you have experience that you won't reply because was not effective or were effective less than other?
I don't know if it's exactly related to the toolkit, but I was thinking of expectations, what as Ludwig said a little bit, but also I would say like not bore them. You know, school, it depends on what age again, a little bit, and the context and the country and the culture for sure. But I mean, school is a lot about you have, right? Like you have to do the homework, you have to do that, you have to do that. And then you want to do a project with them and you tell them again, like you have to, and it feels like homework. You are boring them all out, and then you lose the interest. So we have to think. So I try always to think like, yeah, we talk a lot about this crisis of imagination, right? We talk a lot about the crisis of creativity. Like we lack the capacity to imagine alternatives for the climate crisis. We lack the imagination to look for alternatives to this economic system. And youth have this potential, and the youth have the potential to imagine more than grown-ups. But sometimes they need a push in some direction because they lack power, they lack maybe time, they lack maybe a strong voice. So they may be lacking some things, but if you try to encounter them and it's boring, then you lose also their interests. And if it's another task, another homework on top of all the things they have to do and cannot decide whether they want or not, then I think you lose the interest. Yeah.
Thanks. A lot of inputs, I think, from this conversation. I just ask you a last question, because you know that the problem sometimes, and you know probably better than me, you got this fund to support an action in a city, in a territory, but how can this project-based initiative can become something more that lasts over the end, over the lifespan of the project, the fund, etc. Because I think that several cities, several projects has this problem, the legacy, what remain in the community after the project end. 1 minute. 1 million question.
Nicolas, what do you say? You wanna chime in on it?
Yeah, I think it's a really difficult one. Like as you said, David, it's the 1 million question, right? I mean, as an organization that works exactly like this with project after project, it's hard to see how it could be solved. That is not just like continuous funding. Like I mean, like I see that this is not the reality, but I would say like by creating third spaces that somehow have their own economic motor. Like I think that is for me has become a bit an apparent thing in the last couple of years to create spaces where somehow you create something that is of value for the people, and maybe a lot of people can pay a little bit for this value, and so you generate some sort of economic motor. Super simple. But I could not tell you what exactly I mean by this. For example, but I have my own projects, for example, that is kind of connected to my organization. But there is like we started up a collective wood workshop, as simple as that, and people pay excess. So it's like based on the excess economy, and so basically they generate this space by paying for the excess, and so that creates this own economic motor, which makes the space survive without external incentive. And at the same time, the space can also be used for other things than just this function. And so I think that is for me is one solution, but I think it's a super hard question, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And it's also, I mean, we can, as a city, we can help make that easier in ways, permits and whatnot. But I think a lot of it has to come from the bottom up. But something we've done mostly when we've done work with more social groups, and we haven't done that much with this type of topic, is to go into kind of a more long-term agreement. It's never that long-term. It's like a couple of years at least, where we say we as a city, we will fund this much and do these things. And the participating organizations, they say we will do this. And then it's a kind of common agreement where it's understood that all parties contribute with more than what is in the agreement, but at least it's enough in there to make it happen. So we run some youth kind of centers that way, where there's some funding from the city, but also the organizations pitch in their voluntary time as well. So there are different forms, but as Nick said, there's nothing good yet. Like they all have their flaws. So happy to get any ideas from the rest of Europe about how to do this.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very common problem for everyone, that nobody has found the solution or has the solution in his pocket so far, probably. I don't know. I don't see other question in the Q&A. So we'll slowly move into the interactive session. But before leaving, I want really to say thank you to Marcelo Gerlach, and Nicolas Keller, and Ludwig Wahlund Sonesson for staying here today. That I think it was a very impressive panel. So thank you to all the speaker.
Thank you so much.
And now I'll give the floor to my colleague Soraya Melinato, that will dive us in the interactive session of the Naturethon. Of course, you are all the people are welcome to stay with us and to play a bit with the development of a nature-based solution. Soraya, thank you. The floor is yours. Bye-bye.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Davide. I encountered some issue with the microphone, but I hope you can hear me well and see also my presentation on the screen. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Soraya Melinato, and I'm working at CMCC Risk Assessment and Adaptation Strategy Division. And today I will present you the Naturethon initiative. So from here on, the webinar becomes more interactive, as Davide said. We invite all the participants to stay connected and follow a few brief instructions at the beginning, followed by the real working session, let's say. This part that we can call training and a more detailed explanation on how the activity works is dedicated to all the webinars participants and the Naturethon registrants, sorry. So please stay with us and take part to the initiative. Naturethon is an initiative designed to bring citizens and local communities into the conversation about nature-based solutions. The idea is to let people share their ideas, get inspired by expert talks, as today, and collaborate together in implementing local resilient solutions. So participants receive valuable insights and guidance, which they can apply after in their own communities, designing and implementing local actions that support resilience. This slide in particular shows a moment of celebration among participants from a group of the last year's Naturethon participants after completing the process and receiving recognition from the project. So, but how the Naturethon works? So the process is very simple. First step, subscribe to the Naturethon newsletter. This will allow you to stay updated on the current and upcoming activities, including project contents and news. The second step is enroll to the supporting activities. So first of all, the webinars and the training events that we are organizing from October to November. And also you can find more content in our digital library placed in the project website. Later, my colleague Andrea Staccione will present the detailed schedule of working session for this webinar, and the next one that is scheduled for the November 13th. The step 3 is start the dialogue within your group. So start working with the group you in order to develop your nature-based solution idea, drawing on the content of the webinars you attended and the materials you received. And the final step is to share your ideas with us. So finally, send us your project. You can use your preferred format. So it could be a report, a presentation, or a video, following just a few and simple steps from the project guidelines that we will share with you. So Naturethon welcomes both groups and individuals interested in adapting to climate-related risk. The primary goal is to exchange ideas and then build resilience and foster collective learning. This timeline shows the phases of the initiative. So highlights include the webinar that we had in October and the today's webinar and the next one. And very important, the project submission deadline in December the 1st. And most importantly, the festival with the awards ceremony in Brussels scheduled for the next February. Regarding the review and award, all submitted ideas will be reviewed, by the Naturethon team, and every group will receive a participation certificate. The winning proposals will be recognized with symbolic prizes, such as a tree planted in the collaboration with Freedom. And the most innovative and impactful proposals will be presented at the Finance and Innovation Festival in Brussels the next February, so 2026. So this is actually an incredible opportunity to showcase ideas and to an international audience of professionals. Please stay with us and complete the process that is very simple. So at this time, I give the floor to Andrea Staccione, who will introduce the actual working session.
Thank you, Soraya, and welcome to everybody. I'm Andrea Staccione, working with Soraya and Davide in the Naturethon project, and I'm here today to guide you through the interactive session. So this part is in this part, we will do a simple exercise to start to explore how we can design a nature-based solution tailored to our local context, start to explore what are the key elements that we need to take into consideration to build a successful nature-based solution. And this is going to be a small exercise, training session that then you can replicate later with your local groups at home, and will guide you to develop your own NBS idea to submit at the end of the process if you want. So over the next 30 minutes, more or less, we will work in small breakout rooms, each one focus on a different climate-related topic, and you will be invited to share experiences, identify local challenges or solutions, and then think together about the NBS ideas. So we will use an interactive boards on Miro to explore, as I said, the main elements required to design and plan nature-based solution, starting from the main challenges you're experiencing in your areas to move forward to the potential solution and associated elements that are required to then move to the main actors to involve with and the potential financing strategies and mechanisms. But today, we only focus on the first two columns, so challenges and nature-based solution ideas, while the second, the last columns, we will be the focus of the next webinar. So today we will start first to explore the main challenges, the primary climatic challenges in your local areas, and what are the associated environmental, social, economic challenges relevant for the local community, such as given high temperatures, sea level rise, floods, droughts, what could be the environmental, social, economic challenges associated, like biodiversity loss, pollution, land degradation, or health concern, limited access to green spaces, lack of educational recreational opportunities, but also poverty, economic damages, loss of agricultural productivity, and so on. We'll then move also to look at some potential solutions already. So what are the potential nature-based elements and environmental elements and what are the associated the other elements that are important to the communities to respond to this challenge and identify. So we can start thinking to the physical solution, like the restoration of dune system, the creation of an urban park, restoration on wetland and floodplains, or implementation of water ponds, green roof. But also try to start thinking how these elements, what the needs to implement these elements, so what governance, rules, policy are important to take into consideration, what social value we want to build on, like the creation of inclusive and accessible green spaces, sustainable mobility option, incorporation of the educational elements, and so on, but also how to support economically. So what could be some elements that are important to support also businesses, promotion of green jobs, so skill development, or sustainable land management. So we will now ask you to choose a topic of interest. We have flood risk, urban heat waves, sea level slide or coastal flood, landslide and avalanches, droughts and wildfire, and biodiversity loss. We will use this interactive Miro board, and now you should have the link in the chat and you can start to explore it. And we will work on one board for each topic. In each room, so you will choose your topic of interest, and will be a dedicated breakout rooms for each. Wait, I'll just move it here. Dedicated breakout room for each of these thematic, for each of this topic, and there will be a moderator in each of the breakout rooms. We will move across them, so if you don't see us immediately, stay there, start to know each other, maybe with the chat, or start testing the Miro board. We will join you in a second. We will explain the activities more in detail in the breakout session, but then you can start familiarize and discuss with each other. So be open to discuss, learn from the others, ask questions, be creative, and then fun. So you will have now these breakout rooms bottom here, and you can choose the breakout rooms that you are more interested in. So we have 6, again, flood risk, urban heat waves, coastal flood or sea level rise, landslide and avalanches, droughts and wildfires, and biodiversity losses. And we will see each other there. And we'll reconvene at the end for closing and give you some follow-up for the and next steps. Welcome back. I hope you had good discussion in your breakout rooms. I popping through flood risk rooms and urban heat waves, and I see the people were really talking and providing some insights and feedbacks. It was really nice to hear about potential idea. I know that the time is always too short to these type of activities, but really the idea was to give you a flavor of what could be, how a nature-based solution can be complex, how many elements we need to take into consideration. So starting from the beginning is really important to take into consideration on all the challenges, not only the main challenges we want to address, but also all the associated issues that can be related to that challenges. And also when we are developing an ideas, it doesn't, we need also to take into consideration not only to the physical solution, to the NBS per se, but also what are all the other elements in terms of governance, regulations, social issues, economic requirements that can lead to the really success of the solution. So I just want to conclude here this interactive session, sharing with you what is going to be next. So you can, as Soraya introduced at the beginning, oh no, it's not in presentation. You can participate to the Naturethon with your own group, or create now that you see that you stayed with us, go back home and looking for your local group and sign in, but also continue to participate as an individual. I will be back on these things of the group in a second. And the idea is that we will guide you also offline, sharing with you a logbook to track all your ideas, suggestions, and advancements. So you can fill in this slide deck with all these insights that you collect today and that you can discuss with your own group at home to start drawing your idea. And this will help you to create the final proposal to submit to the Naturethon initiatives. So this is an example of something that we asking you to fill in the logbook. So basically what we have done today, but just focus in your own local context. And we will share this and also the Miro board that will stay open, so you can go explore also what the other group discussed via email to all the registered groups and individuals forming new groups. So if you want to join a group, so you're here as an individual and you want to join a group with the mates that you have met here in the breakout session, you can register to this form, join a group, and we will send out a common email to you, all of you, with the material, so you can have the contact to each other, contact and work together offline before the next events and start to build your own group. When once you have met with the other, you can also then register your formal group to the second form. And for all the others that already have a group or have their own group at home and want to register, you can go to the second form here, so register your groups. And then this submit our idea is the final, is the form to submit the final idea. If you have already something really developed, you can also do it now from the beginning. You should have also the link to the form on the chat, I think, or we will share in a second, so you can go there directly. Please do it as soon as possible, so we can share all the information with you as soon as possible, and you have enough time to prepare and start to think about your nature-based solution in your local context. And with this, I will leave the floor to Davide for the conclusion, and thank you everyone for being with us and join the interactive session.
And sorry, and so from now we will wait for your notification that who will be organized in one group, right?
Yeah, so if you want to, if you're ready, because we know already someone registered to join a group, we are just waiting few more days to collect registration, and we will share according to the thematic interested. So according if you're interested in urban heat waves, flood risk, whatever, a common email to you, so you can get in have the contacts of the other participants that are interested in the same thematic groups, and then you can organize by yourself as a new group.
Yes, and also with the further instruction, right? How to go to the step 2 and 3, right? There will be instruction, I think.
Yes, exactly. We will share this via email and also via newsletter. So pay attention to and be registered to the newsletter, so you can have all the updates for the next events and session.
Okay, thank you so much.
If there is any other question, I will try to answer via chat, and I will leave the floor to Davide for the conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you to all the participants. As Andrea said, this is just a taste because time is running out. I want just to share with you our main events, in which also the best ideas we showcase, and the representative will hosted by the project in Brussels. That is this event. Give me a second. That is the Finance Innovation Festival in the third day, so the morning of the 5th of February. The session will be dedicated to the citizen engagement, and in particular in the urban context. So the three best projects, three best ideas that joined the Naturethon will be hosted here to showcase and receive feedback from a really impressive panel of experts, and also is a good place to find also industry and stakeholders that might be interested in financing the solution. I hope this was the last slide. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I think that the speakers and the experiences were very impressive and also very tangible, because we selected really experiences that work on the field with the different ages, with the different contexts, with different challenges. So thank you again, and see you to the next in the next event that will be the 13th of November, where we'll face the huge topic of financing the ideas. So thank you again, and bye-bye.